ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of Yom Rahmeen, of the graves of the Shuhada, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. O Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. O Allah, give victory to the people of Palestine. Ya Allah, destroy the oppressors wherever in the world they may be. Ya Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Ya Allah, destroy the enemies of Tashayyu wherever they may be. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Aba Abdullah this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq for Hajj and Umrah. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true waiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who's Rahman and the one who's Rahim. Continuing our discussion on the narration of Imam al-Hasan to his companion Junadah ibn Abi Umayyah, when the Imam in his final moments is asked by Junadah that, "O Imam, give me advice." And we've looked at two portions of that hadith and we're almost halfway through it. Inshallah, the hope is that by our final lecture we will have completed the whole hadith. Yesterday we said that the Imam said to Junadah that do not carry the burden of tomorrow today. Don't stay awake worrying about tomorrow when tomorrow has yet to come. Worry about the day that you are in. And also know that you will not gain more than your apportioned sustenance, your rizq. No matter how much you try, you're only going to get that amount that Allah has apportioned for you, unless He has deemed that you will be someone who is the holder of the rizq of someone else. So He's apportioned for you to have it, to be able to pass it on to someone else. Then the Imam says to him, "اعلم أن في حلالها حسابا وفي حرامها عقابا وفي شبهاتها عتابا." He says that to know, in regards to your mal, in regards to the things that you gain in this dunya, that which is halal, for that there is an accounting in the hereafter. That which is haram carries a punishment for you in the hereafter. And that which is questionable, that it's from questionable means, says on the day of judgment there is an admonition for that. That person will be admonished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about that which was mutashabih, that thing that had shubha within it in the dunya. He doesn't know where he gained it from. Was it halal? Was it not halal? Not sure. It was a grey area. Says there will be that admonishment by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in regards to that. And so we look at everything that we earn, everything that we go out and go to work, and whatever we do to earn our halal rizq, and we see that, is it truly halal? Is it truly fulfilling the requirements of something being halal? Or is there somewhere along the line where, haram is very easy to define. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I know something is haram, I won't do it. But it's that middle ground, that grey area. Is it halal? Is it haram? I'm being paid to do a job and I said it will take 6 hours, but I know it'll only take 3. But because I know the market says that it will take 6 hours, I'm charging for 6. Now you enter into that questionable phase because I'm lying. Now what is coming in? Arguably, if I've lied for it, it's already haram. But I bring it into that grey area. Says you will be admonished for it on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And there's no escape from it. There's no, as I mentioned on the first night, there's no sweet talking your way out of the situation. For on that day, الْيَوْمَ نَخْتِمُ عَلَىٰ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ, we'll seal their mouths. Their hands and their feet will bear witness and give testimony to everything that they have done. And then the Imam says, فَأَنزَلِ الدُّنْيَا بِمَنْزَلَةِ الْمَيْتَةِ خُذْ مِنْهَا يُغْنِيكَ. Says that, and treat this world like a corpse. Take from it what you can that will benefit you, that will make you independent of others. But don't put your hope in it, that it's going to come back to life, it's going to grow for you, because it's dead. Take whatever you can from it, whatever is there, in order to make you independent, but don't rely on something that is dead. Use it to reach a goal. It's not your aim in life. The dunya is not the aim. The dunya is not the goal. It is simply a stepping stone towards your ideal, towards that akhirah. The dunya is a place not to get attached to. When we get attached to these things, that's what then bogs us down. It stops us from ascending towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The nature of this dunya is that it is lowly. It has no intrinsic value to it. That it is not something that will continue to grow for you. It is stagnant. And you pick whatever you can from it in order to go towards eternal life. The depravity of the people within the dunya, those that get attached to it, it knows no bounds. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, when he says to Abdullah ibn Umar, he says to Abu Abdullah, he says, why don't you just give bay'ah to Yazid? He won't live long. Just give it. Don't cause bloodshed in the ummah. Says, it is better for you to give him bay'ah. And the Imam at that point, he says to him, that this dunya that you're trying to sell me, he says the example of this lowly dunya is such that this is the very dunya that the head of Yahya Nabi was severed from his body and presented as a gift to a prostitute of Bani Israel. He says this is that dunya that you are trying to sell to me. He says this is that dunya that Bani Israel would kill tens of prophets before the time of sunrise, and go and sit in their shops after sunrise as if they had done nothing wrong. Says this is the depravity of this world. And when an individual becomes attached to this world, they themselves become lowly. When the world becomes their be-all and end-all, they too become dani, they too become lowly, they become depraved. The Quran says, أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ. Says they're like animals. But then says Balhum Azal. Balhum Adal, they're even worse than the animals. Why is it that they're worse than the animals? You look around at the world today. Look at the situation in Gaza. That what is happening, that genocide that is unfolding in front of our eyes, children, women being killed mercilessly, and the whole world stays quiet. Nowhere in the animal kingdom do you see genocide. And this is why the Quran is saying, Balhum adal. The human being can become worse than an animal. Because the animal doesn't commit mass genocide. But the human being, at the point of his depravity, he can go so low that he becomes lower than the animals. And so he can embark upon these types of dhulm that are being committed in Gaza on a daily basis. And what's even worse than that is that the rest remain quiet. The world remains silent in the face of this. What is the crime of those children? Simply that they are Muslim. The whole world remains silent. And it's unfortunate that even us as the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, or even us who sit on the manabir representing the religion of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, for us this isn't even an important matter. How is it possible that the Shia of Ali cannot have that level of affinity towards the Madhloom? An individual that is engrossed in the dunya won't have that affinity, won't feel that pain. They will find some reason, some way to not speak about it, to not raise that issue, to find some way to say that, oh no, we don't need to be concerned about it. I don't know which Ali they are following, because the Ali that I follow said, Kuna lidhalimi khasman walil madhlumi auna. He said that we oppose every single dhalim wherever in the world he is, and we support every madhloom wherever in the world they are. He didn't say that every Muslim or every Shia. He said no, every single madhloom in the world, wherever they are, the Shia of Ali will be those that oppose them, will support them. And every dhalim in the world, the Shia of Ali will be the first to raise their voice to oppose them. This is that same Ali that after when Muawiyah had sent a group of people to a city and they raided the houses of the women of that city and they began to steal their jewelry. Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha, look at sermon number 27 of Nahj al-Balagha. He says that I have come to know that every one of them, the army of Muawiyah, entered upon Muslim women and other women that were under the protection of Islam, Jews and Christians that were under the protection of Islam, and they took away their ornaments from their legs, their khalkhal, those anklets off their feet, their arms and their necks and their ears. And those women had no way of defending themselves except crying and pleading. That's all they had. Then what Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says that if any Muslim was to hear about what occurred and died, Ali would not blame him. Says I wouldn't blame him. Why? Because the ghairah of the Muslim, the ghairah of the follower of Ali does not allow him to look at this level of dhulm that is happening and not say anything about it. In fact, he not only does he say, I would not blame that individual, he says, بَلْ كَانَ بِهِ عِنْدِي جَدِيرًا. He says, rather that individual is justified in my eyes. I would support his action, that he died out of ghairah. Just hearing about it, we see it in front of our eyes. then how is it that our manabir are silent? How is it that our institutions are silent? Why is it that we are silent about it? Why is it that this narrative is being pushed to be silent about it? Because it's impossible for the Shia of Ali to be the one that stays quiet in the face of oppression. Just because it's not happening to me. It's impossible for the Shia of Ali to turn a blind eye to this dhulm. But when one attaches themselves to this dunya, they end up reaching this state that they either commit the atrocity or they stay silent in the face of those atrocities. Then the Imam al-Hasan, he continues, says, وَاعْمَلْ لِلدُّنْيَاكَ كَأَنَّكَ تَعِيشُ أَبَدًا وَاعْمَلْ لِآخِرَتِكَ كَأَنَّ تَمُوتُ غَدًا. Says, and work for this world as if you will live forever, and work for your akhirah as if you are going towards it tomorrow. What does he mean by it? If you could turn the mic back up, I could tell when you turn it down. So, work for this dunya as if you are going to live forever. What does it mean? It means that don't lose sleepless nights over it. Chase it, chase it, chase it, as if it's going to leave you. It says, act in the dunya as if you're going to live forever. Don't worry about earning. You'll say tomorrow, tomorrow. You know, the same way that we go, oh, I missed my salah, I better pray qadha. It's okay, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. I'll wait till Laylatul Qadr and do the 7 days marathon that we do. Or sprint. It's more of a sprint. I feel sorry for the Maulana that has to lead it. So, we waste our whole year not praying salah on time, and then we waste our Laylatul Qadr making up for what we didn't do before. Whereas Laylatul Qadr is about going forward. But in Laylatul Qadr, because we haven't done anything throughout the year, so we end up going backwards. So we actually never leave Laylatul Qadr any better than while we entered it. We just filled up the backlog. Surely if one fills up the backlog from before, then goes into Laylatul Qadr, then they springboard forward. Then it becomes khayrun min alfi shahr. However, the Imam is saying, live in this dunya as if you live forever. And live or think about your akhirah as if you're going to die tomorrow. We have it the other way around. I work day and night because I think, oh no, I'm going to lose out. And when it comes to my akhirah, I'm like, hey, it's okay, I'll do it when I'm old, I'll do it when I get there, I'll do it once I've done Hajj, I'll do it. Tomorrow, 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 and then that tomorrow never comes. This is when it's coming to the matter of earnings, just don't rush. Act like you'll live forever. Don't be so worried about it. In Nahj al-Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, says there are 6 characteristics. If one has them, then he has entry into heaven and there is no path for him to hell. There is no way that he'll end up in hell. The first is that he knows God and obeys Him. Understands, he knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he obeys Him. Seems simple. But really, how much do we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Otherwise, the purpose of the human being in this world was the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It says in Hadith Qudsi, كنت كنزا مخفيا فأحببت أن أعرف فخلقت الخلق لكي أعرف. Says, I was a hidden treasure, I desired to be known. So I created creation so that they may come to know me. The purpose of the human being in this world is the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you know Him is when you can fall in love with Him. When you fall in love with Him is when you can develop friendship with Him. When you develop friendship with Him is when you can develop intimacy with Him. When you develop intimacy with Him is when you develop fear of Him. These are maqamat that the Urafah speak about. Ma'rifah is the first. And then from ma'rifah comes hub. And then from hub comes ons. It's that friendship into intimacy. And then why is it fear comes at the last stage? Not fear that this God will punish me. No, because by this point that I've reached this maqam, I realize that this is a God that will make it extremely difficult for anyone to end up in hell. We have it the other way around. We're like, He's going to throw you in hell for this, hell for this, hell for this, hell, hell, hell. All of this is hell. And if by some bit of dumb luck you end up not ending up in hell, there's this little place called Jannah you can go to. Whereas actually the reality is Jannah, Jannah, Jannah all the way. And if by some dumb luck you end up being so depraved in this world that you have not even an ounce of decency left about you, then there's this place called hell. You look at the riwayat on how it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Person says, how is it possible I could end up in hell? But the believer lives between two states, between khawf and raja, between fear and hope. He's never fully fearful, but nor is he fully hopeful. He balances himself between these two stations, these two states. See, one riwayah that's just come to my mind says there's a man who's being dragged to hell, Yawm al-Qiyamah. His deeds have been given to him, and he's been taken to hell. The judgment has been passed. He looks back, just turns his head slightly back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls out to the angels that are dragging him. He says, stop. Ask him, why is it that he looked back? So why did you look back? He says, Ma hakadha dhannu bik. Says, my Lord, I didn't expect this of you. I didn't think you'd actually throw me in hell. I didn't actually think that you would really put me in hell for all the things that I've done. Ma hakadha dhannu bik. I didn't think that you would do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replies, says, I have accepted his lie. Take him into heaven. Why is it I've accepted his lie? Because in the dunya, he didn't have this opinion of me. He didn't have a good opinion of me. He didn't have husnul dhannu billah in the dunya. But now that he's claiming it here, says, I accept it from him. Send him to heaven. When you have a Lord that is like that, then it's very difficult to end up in hell. So when you reach that final maqam of intimacy and then you enter into the realm of fear, that fear is not that he will punish me. That fear is that I will lose this maqam, this proximity that I have gained with the beloved. I will lose this shawq of ibadah. I will lose this love of standing in the night and reciting Salatul Layl. I will lose this love of doing dua and istighfar in front of him. That's what that fear is. So the Imam says the first characteristic, if a person does this, they won't ever end up in hell. The first part of it is this. They know God, have ma'rifah of him, and they obey him. The second, they know shaitan and they disobey him. Know your enemy. Know your enemy. There is shaitan, there are the shayateen. They are even those that do the work of the shaitan from amongst the people. Manna'in lil khair. Those individuals that forbid others from doing good. The Quran speaks about it, says, the manna'in lil khair, the one that forbids others from doing good. They're doing the work of shaitan. He has a day off when these people are in town. Because they stop. Oh, you're going to go to the masjid? Why are you going to go? Forget it. It's going to be so long, boring. Let's just stay. This is a manna'in lil khair. Even worse than that is he forbids, and he himself is put off by those things that are good. And then he forbids others from doing it. This is what shaitan does. Know your enemy. Your enemy is extremely advanced. The shaitan of today, compared to the shaitan of 9,000 years ago, is a very different shaitan. He learns, he develops, he understands societies, he learns your technologies. The shaitan of Adam alayhi salam is different to the shaitan of today. He has evolved, he has learnt, he has become more advanced in the ways that he can beguile you and take you from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so you need to know that the enemy that is against you is strong. That he will attack you from all four sides. Understand where it is that he attacks you. Understand around what type of people it is that shaitan's waswasa comes to you. Understand that is it when you are alone that he comes to you. So surround yourself with those that are good. Or is it when you are amongst certain people, he calls you to ghiba, he calls you to certain things. Understand your enemy. Is it that he takes you off the path every time you open your phone and go onto social media? So then realize that that is your weakness. Remove the weakness from your life. Understand your enemy. Understand his strengths and his weaknesses. Those of you that do combat sports, or those of you that are into combat sports, you'll see that when they do post-fight interviews with fighters, they'll say to them like, how did you, oh yeah, we picked up this defect in his particular fighting style. We always know that he telegraphs a right hook, and so we countered it at that time. Because they know the enemy. You know the person that you're going against. I know nothing of my enemy. I know nothing, the most advanced enemy that I have. He is my sworn enemy. He knows everything about me and my society, but I know nothing about him, how he seeks to attack. What is it that he looks to pull me away from? So know your enemy, know shaitan, and disobey him. The third thing that Amir al-Mu'mineen says know haqq and follow it. Doesn't say know the people of haqq. In fact, even in the battle of Siffin, someone came to Amir al-Mu'mineen, in the battle of Jamal, came to Amir al-Mu'mineen and said, Ya Ali, I don't know which side is truth. On one side, there is you, the cousin and the son-in-law of the Prophet. And there is other companions that were with the Prophet. But on the other side is the wife of the Prophet. On the other side is Talha. Talha is the father-in-law of Imam al-Hussein. He's the father-in-law of Imam al-Hussein. So on the other side is Talha. There is Zubayr, the cousin of the Prophet. Talha and Zubayr were good people at the start of Islam. Says, which way do I go? You tell me which one of you is on haqq. Imam says, don't look at the people. Says, اعرف الحق. First know what is haqq. First understand what is truth. Don't chase personalities. We have become a society of personality chasers. We have become a community of celebrity chasers. I'm not looking at the criteria of haqq. I'm just looking like this person is good to look at, this person is good to listen, this person entertains me. So I'll follow them, and then whatever they say, I'll do. So then when they go and they lead me up the garden path later on and take me to hell, then I'm like, oh, what happened? They were supposed to, you didn't identify what is haqq, understand what is haqq, understand what is truth. Where does the truth lie? Once you understand the truth, then understand and identify the people that fall under that bracket of that truth. Don't fall into the personalities. Here in the GTA, you have, it's the city of cults. I say this openly. People know this. I say it all the time. Whoever comes sets up their own shop, their own marketplace. Allah, take some people with me. The new flavor in town, everyone go that way. First identify haqq. Don't look at the person. Don't look at the personality. First identify what is truth, what is haqq, and then go towards those who fit in the criteria of haqq. So the third thing the Imam says is, identify haqq. Once you have identified what is truth, then go towards that truth. The second thing the Imam says, the fourth thing, the Imam says is no batil. Identify what is evil and then stay away from it. For now, haqq and batil has become grade in this society. I don't know who's on truth. I don't know who is right. Because so many people are saying, I'm on the truth. I'm the truth. First understand haqq, then understand batil. What is it that your enemy is trying to do? The enemy from the jinn, but also the enemy from the ins, from the human beings. Because there are sworn enemies amongst you in the human beings. There are those that are working on our communities to destabilize them, to bring i'tiqad, to destroy the i'tiqad, the aqidah of the community. So first you need to know what haqq and batil are, and then go towards the haqq, stay away from the batil. The fifth thing says, know the dunya and run from it. And then know the akhirah and chase after it. Says you do these 6 things. Says then heaven is open for you and hell, there is no path for you to enter into it. 6 simple things. Move away from the dunya. But when we talk about moving away from the dunya, we often look at the dunya as being something that is bad. And up until this point in my lecture, I have made the dunya seem very bad. Having any sort of attachment, any sort of connection with the dunya as being a bad thing and a thing that will destroy you. But in reality, we need to understand something about the dunya. It's not all bad. In fact, hikmah number 131 of Nahj al-Balagha, you'll see that Amir al-Mu'mineen heard a man cursing the dunya. So just a few days earlier, or a few months earlier, Amir al-Mu'mineen had made that statement, oh dunya, I divorced you 3 times. So, sometimes you have that, you want to make yourself seem more religious than you are in front of someone that is religious. So he sees Amir al-Mu'mineen, oh dunya, I hate you, oh dunya. Amir al-Mu'mineen looks at him and says, what are you talking about? I'm going to read to you some parts of Hikmah 131. The rest, the previous 2 nights I gave you advices and adhkar to do. This is tonight's. Read Hikmah 131 of Nahj al-Balagha. See what Amir al-Mu'mineen says. He says, O you who abuses the dunya. Says, O you who has been deceived by its deceits and cheated by its wrongs. Do you yearn for the world and then abuse it? Says you're yearning for it anyway, and then now you're standing here abusing the dunya. He says, do you accuse it, or should it be accusing you? He says, when did it beguile you or deceive you? whether by the decay or the fall of your forefathers, or by the sleeping by the grave of your mother under the earth where she now lies. Says, when did the dunya ever deceive you? Did it deceive you by taking away your father? Did it ever deceive you by taking away your mother from you? Says you took care of them, you nursed them, you tried to do everything. You called doctors, you called everyone to try and save them. You wanted to ward off death, but you were unable to ward off death from all the power that you had. Then Amir al-Mu'mineen lists 24 virtues of the dunya. Says, this dunya that you're complaining about, tell me, did it take away? Did it tell you? Did it deceive you about taking away your parents from you, your forefathers, ending the lives of people? Says no. Says, in fact, through the dying man, the world presented an illustration for you. Says, by taking away your parents, by taking away your loved ones, by taking away the human beings around you, by their lives ending, it was giving you an illustration and showed you by the example of his falling down how you would also fall. In the same way that he died, the dunya is showing you, you too will die. And then he goes on, it is this place. It is the place of worship for the lovers of Allah. He says, what are you talking about? This dunya is where the awliya of Allah worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the place where the malaika come and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the place where the revelation of Allah descends. Says it is the place where the business transactions of the devoted take place between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرَضَاتِ اللَّهِ. Amir al-Mu'mineen sleeps on the bed of the Prophet on the night of Hijrah. And what does the Quran say? Those who sell their souls for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Says this is the place of the business transactions between the abd, between the slave and his ma'bud and his Lord. Says, and this is that place where through all of this they earned the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And herein, in this dunya, they acquired the paradise and that akhirah as a way of recompense, as a way of profit for their ubudiyah towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So and then he says, therefore, who can abuse it when it has announced its own departure? And it has called out to you on a daily basis that it will leave you. So why are you abusing this world? Says it's already telling you everything in this world here is a lesson to tell you that you are not made for here. Everything that comes expires. It's not for you to remain here. Every loved one will leave you. Every friend will turn their back on you. Every human in some way will break your heart. It is not for you to attach yourself to anything. That's what the dunya is trying to tell you. Saying, why are you attaching yourself to me? You're made for something greater. You're made for something higher. You're not made for this lowly plane. Allama Iqbal, he puts it beautifully. He says, Nahi tera nashe man qasr sultani ke gumbad par, tu shaheen hai basera kar paharon ki chitanon mein. Says, this isn't the place for you. You are not that bird that sits upon the rooftops of the domes of the palaces of the sultans. Rather, you are an eagle. You are made to soar to the highest parts of the mountain and nest there. You're not made for here. You are made for something greater. Ascend. Leave this worldly attachment. But know that this world is essential for your ascension. It is your springboard to the akhirah. It is the garden within which you sow and in the akhirah you reap. Without it, you will never achieve Jannah, because it is the training ground for you to be able to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot get close to Him without it. You cannot achieve Jannah without it. You cannot achieve maqamat without it. The dunya is important, it's essential to your journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is that which is not desired is being attached to it. And when you are attached to it, then that is when the human being becomes worse than the animal. بل هم عضل, worse than the animal. In Karbala, for us, is that reminder that whosoever becomes attached to this world will end up becoming depraved, will move away. And those that use this dunya as a springboard, then they are those who will forever be praised. When you look at the atrocities that were committed upon the plains of Karbala, there are many, many atrocities. But the atrocities that are committed on children are those that break the heart of every human being. Any God-fearing human being has that pain in their heart, especially when it comes to the dhulm that befalls children. And there is no more harrowing a night for Ahl al-Bayt than the night that was known as Sham Ghariban. That which befell them from the moment that Abu Abdullah's head was severed from his body. Up until this point, maybe 1 or 2 children were killed. But they were in the battlefield, 10, 11 years old. They'd gone out to fight. But that moment after the death of Abu Abdullah, now defenseless children were being killed. So many riwayat of the children that were killed at that point. You know the daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil, Hamida, who Muslim alayhi salam, when Muslim was killed, the Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he called her to himself. He sat her on his lap, he stroked her hair, and she said, "Oh uncle, you are acting with me in the way that one acts with an orphan." And Abu Abdullah alayhi salam said to her, he couldn't tell her what had happened. How does he tell a 4-year-old that her father has been killed? Instead, he says to her, "From now on, you see me as your father, and my daughters will be your sisters." This daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil is one of the victims of that moment, that Sham Ghariban. The narration says that as these mala'een were looting the tents, one went and began to try and loot her mother. As he was looting her jewelry, he saw this young Hamida was there behind her mother hiding. He saw a ring on her finger. He said to her, "Give me the ring." But she was afraid, she was a child. She ran from him. He rode after her on his horse. As this child was running in front of him, she hit a stone, she fell to the ground. He trampled her body under the hooves of his horse. Another child comes out. Sayyidah Zainab, her jewelry is being stolen. This young boy, 7, 8 years old, he comes out, he picks up a stick to go and defend his aunt. As he runs towards this man, he turns towards him, he pulls out his sword, he hits the child with his sword, he cuts the boy in half. They say the mother of the boy was standing there watching. She didn't know where to go, she didn't know what to do. Her child cut in half in front of her. They say this child was from the family of Aqil. So many children were trampled under the hooves of the horses. So many children, as they ran and these malaa'een chased them, they were trampled under the horses. And their dhulm, the madhlumiyat of them ended at that point. But there is one child from Karbala whose dhulm was sustained. And that is that 4-year-old daughter of Abi Abdullah. From Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham. Constantly hoping, calling for her father. Abu Abdullah, when he was leaving on the day of Ashura and the horse wouldn't move, and you hear that Imam al-Hussein saw, she's holding on to the leg of Zuljanah. Oh, loyal steed of my father, whoever has gone since this morning hasn't returned. Don't take my father out into the battlefield. Imam al-Hussein, he comes down, he holds her, he says, oh Sakina, don't break my heart with your tears, for the time for you to cry is yet to come. When you will see my severed corpse lying on the plains of Karbala, when you will be taken from Kufa to Sham, and you will see my head upon a spear being paraded. Don't break my heart with your tears now. This daughter of Abu Abdullah, she had so much love for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Her words at that point would have cut up the heart of Imam al-Hussein. When he says to her that I must go, she says, Ya abata istaslamta lil maut. Father, have you given yourself to death? Have you submitted yourself to death? He says, what else can a man do that has no helper, no friend left? Says, so then Father, if you must go, then ruddana ila Medina. Then at least, Father, take us back to Medina. Abu Abdullah, what can he tell his 4-year-old daughter? He tells her, Sakina, you must be patient. And patient this girl was. So much dhulm befell her. What incident do I narrate? The one of Sham-e Ghariban, when the tents were set alight, and this girl came running out into the maqtal. She ran out into the maqtal, but when she returned, her clothing was burnt. But her earrings were also lost and her ears were also injured. After Asra Ashur, the head of Abu Abdullah was ordered to be taken to Kufa straight away. It was given to Khuli to take it. Khuli, his order was take it to the palace of Ibn Ziyad and deliver the head of Hussein there and then on this very day. Khuli says, when I left Karbala with the head of Abu Abdullah, I reached Kufa. I went to the palace of Ibn Ziyad, but the doors were closed and they told me that Ibn Ziyad is resting. So he says, I took the head of Hussein home and I placed it in the clay oven, the tanur of my house, and I covered it. Says, I went into my room and I laid on my bed next to my wife. His wife opened her eyes. She said to him, Khuli, where have you been for so many days? He says, I don't want to talk about it. I'm tired. Let me sleep. So he turns around. He goes to sleep. A short while later, she wakes him up. Says, Khuli, tell me, where is it that you were? What is it that you did? He says, what is it it to you? Why are you so concerned? She says, Khuli, tell me, why is it? Every time I close my eyes, I see Zahra in front of me crying. That why is it that your Khuli did what he did? And why is it that he stole from us that which he stole? She says, Khuli, what did you do? He says, if you must know, I was in Karbala. We killed Hussein. I brought his severed head back to our house. She says to him, Khuli, what is it that you stole from Ahl al-Bayt? He says, look under my pillow. There are 2 small earrings. Says, Khuli, where did these come from? Says, when we were looting the tents were burning. I saw a young girl, the daughter of Hussein, coming. She had 2 pearls in her ears. I wanted them for our daughter. I told her, give them to me. She was young. She was afraid. Her hands were shaking. I was impatient. Says she couldn't remove them. I was impatient. I went forward. I ripped them from the ears of the girl. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. مات من حسين